What's going on, guys? It's Cali Q here, and by now we have all been enjoying Eiyuden Chronicles. We all have our thoughts on it. It's disappointed some of us, made some of us very happy, but let's all talk about the future of Eiyuden Chronicle. In today's video, I want to go over some of the things that the Eiyuden Chronicle sequel must have and must improve on in order for this series to improve and in order for this series to regain some of the respect or to make a bigger name for itself than it has currently. Now, I'm gonna need you guys' help for this video. There are tons of things that a lot of us Eiyuden/SUIKODEN fans think that this game could have done better and can improve upon. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below what are some major key fixes that you think Eiyuden Chronicle 2 should have. As we all know, if you just needed a quick reminder, the studio is looking likely to move on with the Eiyuden Chronicle series despite Yoshitaka Murayama's passing. May he rest in peace. So we do have something to look forward to when it comes to Eiyuden Chronicle in the sequel. But I want to use today's official video as a somewhat of a forum, just in case Rabbit and Bear actually watches this video. We can let them know some of the major key points that we want to see changed in the sequel down below. Thank all my channel members for always tuning in and supporting the channel. Much love, y'all. I really enjoy doing this Eiyuden Chronicle content. This is going to be a long video, so strap in, get your comments ready. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the main fixes that I believe Eiyuden Chronicle sequel should have. Now, first, I want to start off with having a stronger/heavier story tone. Now, don't get me wrong, Eiyuden Chronicle's story is very solid, it's very serviceable, and there are some moments like the moment pictured above where I really felt some goosebumps. However, the overall tone of the game is much more lighthearted than its spiritual predecessor counterpart, the SUIKODEN series. And I feel like a lot of SUIKODEN fans came into this game with the expectation that the story would be one of the main focal and standout points of Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. However, there was just really never that level of depth and that level of twists and turns that we would have came to expect. And it was just a little bit of a letdown considering how strong and impactful and emotional some of the SUIKODEN game's story are. Now, again, I give Eiyuden Chronicle a pass because it is the first entry in a brand new franchise. Even though this series is closely related to the SUIKODEN series, I still see Eiyuden Chronicle as its own thing, charting its own new journey and its own new path in the world of JRPGs. But I do want to see this story improved upon. I do want to see some heavier moments. I want to see some more emotional decisions, and I want to see some plot twists and turns that I don't quite see coming. In Eiyuden Chronicle, it kind of plays to the script. There are a few little nice war tones and council meetings and war meetings here and there, but it seems like it never got to cook up the amount that we really wanted it to. It seems like the gravity of the situation was never too serious, and it never felt like you had something on the line. When I played the SUIKODEN games, especially in the war battles, I knew that there was a high chance that some of my party members could die and could permanently die and never come back. I believe SUIKODEN 5 does that really, really well. So I want to feel that tension. I want to feel like there's a risk as I'm going through this game story. I would really like the next Eiyuden Chronicle to increase the tension, increase the risk, and throw some heavier themes and tones into the story so that we can actually learn from this experience and have an impactful emotional experience. So the heavier tone story, this was good for entry level, getting us used to the new world and the new franchise. But in Eiyuden Chronicle 2, let's ramp up that story, let's ramp up the emotions, let's ramp up the tension. We got to make that story a heavy hitting story next time. And don't get me wrong, the moments where the main theme kicks in, I get goosebumps. So imagine if I was able to get the goosebumps along with great music and an emotional storytelling. Guys, we gotta make that story happen. Make it heavier next time, Rabbit and Bear Studios. Make it heavy. Now, if Eiyuden Chronicle has one major glaring weakness, it is one thing that is unanimously agreed on. It's its quality of life features. The game represents the 90s style of JRPGs for both better and for both worse. And to the majority of people, this was for worse. Things like not being able to save on the world map sometimes created some inconvenient situations for certain players and certain people. Now, personally, it didn't bother me too much, but I can definitely see how it made a player feel as though their options were completely limited, learning nothing from the modern advances of JRPGs of today. So if we're going to attract new audiences and bring in more people to this amazing world of Eiyuden Chronicle, we're going to have to do what everyone else is doing. We're going to have to get with the times and add these features to the game. A game like Star Ocean: The Second Story R managed to keep its nostalgia, managed to keep its retroness, but it also managed to, in my opinion, set new standards for how a new JRPG quality of life features should be implemented into a current gen game. To me, Star Ocean: The Second Story R has some of the best quality of life features I've ever seen. So if Eiyuden Chronicle can learn from Star Ocean: The Second Story R and maintain its own integrity, this will be a huge step when it comes to quality of life. Other inconveniences like having to go get the dash boots as an actual item and using it as an equipment slot, whereas the base running should just be a standard thing in current JRPGs. Also, the item inventory issue that a lot of folks did not enjoy when it came to Eiyuden Chronicle. Things like this, quality of life features like this, should already be present in the game. Now, I know this represents the old school, but unfortunately, we have to get with the times, and people don't want to be inconvenienced like this. I would say to some of you guys, you know, when you're from the old school, you're not as bothered by certain things, but I can definitely see how this rubbed a few folks the wrong way. So our goal here is to modernize, bring Eiyuden Chronicle up to speed. It was a nice throwback to the 90s, but let's bring it to the 2020s where it currently belongs. It is a new era, it's a new game, so let's make it feel like that. Even I have to admit the dash boots taking up an equipment slot is a little bit archaic, and it does show a need for growth and a need for evolution. So next time out, we've got to make sure these quality of life features are present within Eiyuden Chronicle. So while we're talking about things we can improve, let's go back to the pacing and the story a little bit. One thing that I saw online quite a bit was a lot of folks were not happy with the amount of cutscenes ratio to gameplay. You would take a few steps, cutscene. You would take a few steps, cutscene. This was really heavy in the first half of the game. It ended up tapering off a little bit, but we have to change the rate in which cutscenes are coming in and the rate at which the player plays. You guys know what I mean. The ratio was a little off. You would take a few steps, black screen, take a few steps, black screen. So I'm hoping that that is another quality of life feature that they can fix going forward. Others include faster UI menu speed, faster menu speed in general, clicking through and skipping through a little bit easier, going through the text a little bit faster. All these things help the optimization when it comes to quality of life, bigger than you know. So let's hope that this is one of the main messages that Rabbit and Bear take from a lot of our concerns, a lot of our complaints, and a lot of our feedback. We have to make the game more accessible, cleaner, tighter, and optimized for newcomers. Now, this is one where I have to keep it real. The fact that there were so many story progression bugs in Eiyuden Chronicle was not quite the best first impression that we could have made. The whole thing with the character recruitment of Lam and the whole thing with the castle battle before you go into the final battle, you could get soft locked inside of your HQ, and these were literally story progression halting bugs. These were bugs that if you didn't have an extra save file, you may have been in trouble. Not to mention the terrible port of the Switch version, where a lot of Switch users were claiming that the game was simply unplayable for them. And I feel so bad for some of the users that got it on Switch. So next time out, we just have to make sure we're doing a little bit better testing when it comes to Eiyuden Chronicle. Maybe get that beta test out there a little bit earlier so that we have certain things we're looking for. There was also the cooking game mini game bug where all the appetizers were only being rated. There's a lot of bugs in Eiyuden Chronicle, which is fair because every game has bugs, but the ones in this game are unacceptable and they cannot happen a second time out, especially if we want Eiyuden Chronicle to be taken seriously in the JRPG circles. Now this right here is the big juicy one for me. This is the one that everyone gripes about, including myself. I want the battle system optimized and just upgrade it when it comes to Eiyuden Chronicle. It needs to be fleshed out a bit more, and I have some personal gripes with it. My biggest one being the combat speed. Now it's not terrible, but it definitely can be improved upon when it comes to an Eiyuden Chronicle sequel. Deeper things in the battle system that I want to see fixed. I want to see every character having their own rune lens attack animation. It was such a bummer when I would get to a character I really like and then the rune lens is grayed out because they don't have a unique rune lens attack or animation. That absolutely needs to be fixed the next time out. I also want to touch on the whole rune lens system in general. I am a fan of either getting rid of it and going to a simple skill tree or making it more simplified and easier to understand. The rune lens system in this game, quite honestly, is haphazardly put together and it's really not explained that well, and you can get through the game without necessarily using it. So I either want them to simplify it or just go the traditional path of maybe doing a skill tree. I personally like skill trees. I know they're overused, but I like them. And I think with a game like Eiyuden Chronicle that has so many different characters and it gets a little bit hard to keep up with all the different runes, and then when you add the runes in with the inventory, things just get a little crazy and a little messy. I prefer them to just go back, take it simple, copy if you have to, but make it your own if you have to. I think that Eiyuden Chronicle needs to adapt a little bit better MP, SP system. I just think there are a lot of things that could be done quite differently when it comes to Eiyuden Chronicle's battle system. Now, I say all this and I still enjoyed the battle system, but these are things that I definitely want to see tighten up on. Now, when it comes to the gimmick system, I did think the gimmick system would have a bigger play than what it ended up doing, and some people were pretty frustrated with the gimmick system, such as the battle being shown on screen, because it was completely up to luck and chance, and it made you feel like you really didn't have any control over what was going on. For me, I want to keep the gimmick system around. I think that they can improve on it. I think that they can add a couple more things to it. So I want the gimmick system to stick around. Some of you might disagree with that, but I can see how that is a thing that a lot of folks would not like. What I would rather them like is utilizing more of the terrain. I would like to see the environment get into battle a little bit more. Maybe like some Pokemon stuff where it's raining and then the rain affects the elements, something like that. You know what I mean? Sandstorms and things like that. Maybe using the environment to your advantage would have been a better way for them to go, but I don't know. Next, I want to talk war battles. Now, I want to see the war battles way more fleshed out than what we got here. One of my biggest gripes of the war battles was that they felt completely scripted. Sometimes it didn't feel like there were many different outcomes. And I'm going to double back to what I said a little bit earlier. I didn't really feel that same tension that I felt from the SUIKODEN games, especially in SUIKODEN 5. If you lost one of your party members in the war battle, they would actually permanently die. Yes, there were permadeaths. So it made you want to be more tactical. It made you want to be more strategic, and it made you think twice before you made certain decisions and put certain teams together. Speaking of putting teams together, there were glimpses and moments where they let us customize to a degree, but I would like to fully customize my units next time out. Now, I did like that each unit had different perks, different strengths, different weaknesses. That part can stay, but next time out, I want to have a little bit more creative freedom over making my units, placing who, making this lieutenant, making that a captain. I want to have more freedom when it comes to my war battles next time out, and I want them to play a little less safe. Let us get out here and win this war naturally, or let us lose it bravely. I want to go out on my shield, and next time out, I want the war battles a little less scripted and more real. This is supposed to be the rawest, realest part of the game. It's war, baby. So I think next time out, let us actually feel the tension and the weight of being in a war. I also think maybe we can get rid of the grid system and kind of expand it, make it bigger. Some wars felt small. The war portion is supposed to feel grand. So I want them to double down on this war front. It's good. It's a nice base. It's a nice solid foundation. But next time I want to go all out, make this thing massive, make there be more strategic options, and you got me all the way in. Now, I'm saying all of that, I still enjoyed this very much. It's still one of my favorite parts of the game. So I'm saying all of this in good love because I genuinely want to see this system improved upon. Next, I have to get on the tedious nature of recruiting some characters. Now, with a game that's lacking in quality of life features and it's a little bit slow, I have to admit, I have a confession. I did not like the cooking mini game only because it requires such a long sub storyline to get one character. This also includes the Begoma mini game, in which you have to repetitively do the mini game in order to get the character. Maybe once, twice, 5 times, 10 times, maybe I'm okay with that. But the amount of times you had to do the cooking mini game in order to just get one character, and it was a little bit repetitive, we cannot have that happen again in Eiyuden Chronicle 2. I'm all for making character recruitment challenging, but there are some things that just shouldn't have to happen, and these mini games were way too long. They overstayed their welcome way too long. But keep this in mind, I did like them for about the first 3 to 4 versions of them, and then I wanted them to end. So let's hope that in Eiyuden Chronicle 2, there is no too tedious amount of requirements for certain characters. Give us a challenge, but please don't make it repetitive. Now, other small nitpicks and gripes that I would love to see improved upon in the Eiyuden Chronicle sequel is unfinished aspects like the fishing. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but to not have music during the fishing minigame was just quite weird, especially when you pair that with not many water sounds. Also, the fishing itself was extremely bare bones. There were some people who I saw who actually liked it this way. That's fine. But for me, the mechanic just felt a little tacked on. And then when you add the fact that there's no music, no environmental sounds, which is a big one for this game because people also wanted sounds of the character running, footsteps. These environmental noises just helps the quality of the game. You don't realize how important the audio aspect of a game or of a JRPG is until you actually don't have it. So I'm hoping that Eiyuden Chronicle can do a better job utilizing sounds of animals, sounds of crickets, sounds of water, and just everything in general in order to make it feel like you are truly immersed and inside of the world that the game is trying to convince you that you are in. So just these quality of life features when it comes to an audio perspective need to be improved upon for the Eiyuden Chronicle sequel. So guys, that pretty much wraps up some of the major things that I would love to see in Eiyuden Chronicle 2. Now keep in mind, I adore this game. It's a great game, but I'm not a blind fanboy. The game needs some work and it needs some constructive criticism. I really hope that this video reaches Rabbit and Bear Studios because this is how we grow. This is how you create a masterpiece eventually someday. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching all my content, man. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this and share your Eiyuden Chronicle thoughts down below, good or bad. I don't care what it is. We need it to reach Rabbit and Bear Studios in order to get a more complete and better game next time out. All right, what else can I say? I love y'all, man. God bless. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Peace.